The F1 summer break is here, and it's time for the mid-season driver rankings. Half the races are done, and let's just say it's been an interesting first half. The McLarens look like the clear favourites, as they appear to have the quickest car, and the midfield battle has stepped up quite a bit. The rookies have excelled, while some experienced drivers have struggled to keep up. So without further ado, let's take a look at which drivers have impressed the most and which ones have fallen short. As always, we have this tier list where we'll categorise the drivers. This time I had to remove the God tier, as I felt none of the drivers performed consistently at that level. Now we have the showrunners, solid performers, underwhelming, midfield heroes, room for improvement, and disappointing tiers. Starting with Franco Colapinto, who was brought in after the first 6 races. I'm not including Jack in this list since he's currently not part of the grid. Anyway, in the 6 races Franco has taken part in, he failed to score any points and didn't make it to Q3 even once, just like the driver he replaced. We can all agree that the Alpine isn't an easy car to drive. Even Gasly struggles to get to grips with it. And with Franco still being somewhat of a rookie, he deserves some time. However, he still needs to show some promise and improvement. Rumour has it that Alpine are in talks with Valtteri Bottas, and it's not hard to guess who he might replace. So, I'd put Franco in the disappointing tier, as the expectation was for him to perform better than Jack, but so far we haven't seen a single standout performance. His teammate Pierre Gasly, however, has delivered much better results, making it into Q3 an impressive 7 times and scoring points on multiple occasions. With a brilliant 6th place finish at Silverstone, he climbed to 13th in the standings. I'd put Pierre in the midfield heroes tier, as I feel he has maximised the car's potential most of the time. Next we have Nico Hulkenberg. After a challenging start to the season with his new team, Nico has slowly but surely gotten back to his best in a very unpredictable car. The Sauber upgrades seem to be working in the right direction, as Nico has finished in the points in the last 4 races. He scored his maiden podium at Silverstone with an incredible comeback from 19th to 3rd. It was just beautiful. Finishing on the podium in a Sauber is an incredible feat. What a season Nico is having. He's also 9th in the championship standings, which once again shows his pure talent. Nico is such an underrated driver, and I'd put him in the midfield heroes tier. Then we have his teammate, Gabriel Bortoleto. Gabriel is an interesting one. Looking at the stats, he has out-qualified Nico in nearly half the races. It took him a few races to get comfortable in the car, but he looks much better now, both in qualifying and in the race. He scored his first F1 points at the Austrian Grand Prix with a brilliant 8th place finish ahead of his teammate. I'd put Gabriel in the room for improvement tier for now, as I feel there are still some areas he can work on. Now let's talk about the team that's on a serious downward trajectory, and that team is Aston Martin. Fernando Alonso has scored just 14 points this season, marking one of his worst seasons ever. The car in the first 10 races was nowhere, which is surprising given Aston Martin's resources and budget. It seemed like they somehow managed to make last year's car even worse. I haven't seen Fernando this frustrated since the GP2 engine days. He was struggling even to finish in the points, and the team currently sits 8th in the constructors' standings, which is just disappointing. Fernando has also been a bit sloppy this season. Whether it's from pushing too hard or from frustration, it hasn't looked good. Though he has started gaining some consistency after the team introduced new upgrades. It's difficult to decide where to place Fernando because we all know how good he is, but for now, I'd put him in the room for improvement tier, purely cause Lance is ahead of him in the standings. Lance has really surprised everyone this year. He seems like an improved driver in the races, even though he's still behind in qualifying every weekend. He's scored more points than Alonso and is currently 12th in the standings. Although he has only finished ahead of Alonso in one race, I feel at this moment we can also put Lance in the room for improvement tier. I know people might get mad about putting both of them in the same tier, but it is what it is. Next we have Esteban Ocon. There's not much to say about Ocon really. He's a good driver, and he's once again proved that this season. He's adapted well to his new team and has become their lead point scorer. The Haas car doesn't seem very competitive this season. It's a bit hit or miss depending on the track. But when the car is in the right window, Ocon has taken full advantage and scored strong points. He does seem to struggle a bit with extracting one lap pace in qualifying compared to his rookie teammate, but on Sundays he's been pretty solid. I'd put him in the midfield heroes tier. Coming to his teammate, it's been a fantastic rookie season from Ollie Bearman so far. He showed strong performances in China, Japan and Bahrain, and often finishing just outside the points. Considering it's his first season and the Haas is a challenging car to drive, Ollie has been nothing short of phenomenal. He is such a joy to watch on track when he pulls off those gutsy overtakes. And while he may not have as many points as his teammate, I feel Ollie also deserves to be in the midfield heroes tier. Next we have Liam Lawson, and it's been a bit of a disastrous start to his first full season. Now Liam is not exactly a rookie, so we're not going to treat him like one. He started the season at Red Bull but was demoted after just 2 races. At the sister team, he was supposed to be the lead driver but got absolutely schooled by his rookie teammate, both in qualifying and in the races. It's hard to tell if the demotion affected his confidence or not, but he has seemed far off his teammate's pace. He just hasn't looked like the Lawson we saw before. If he doesn't improve significantly in the second half, I'm afraid Red Bull won't be too keen on keeping him, especially with Arvid Lindblad waiting in the wings. As harsh as it might seem, I've got to put Liam in the disappointing tier. His teammate Isack Hadjar, however, has been really impressive. He is 11th in the standings with 5 points finishes. He made it to Q3 an astonishing 6 times and always qualified within the top 14. After Max, he is the highest point scorer among the 4 Red Bull drivers. In my opinion, Isack is the lead contender for Rookie of the Year. He's been superb so far with his racecraft, so I'd put him in the midfield heroes tier. Then we have the brilliant Alex Albon. This season, Alex has been a different beast. Other than Bahrain, he has finished in the points in every race he completed. With a more competitive car underneath him, he has shown that he's a tough driver to beat. With Carlos joining as his teammate, we all expected a closer battle between the two, but Carlos has had no answer to Alex's pace. Alex and Williams seem like a match made in heaven. He looks so comfortable and confident in that car. He's currently 8th in the standings. I mean, he has no right to be that high up in a Williams, so I've got to put Alex in the solid performers tier. Now coming to his teammate, Carlos hasn't been able to deliver on the high expectations many had for him. We expected him to either beat Alex or at least have a tight fight, but he seems to struggle with the car, especially in qualifying. That poor qualifying form hurts him in the race despite having decent race pace. While Alex is 8th with 46 points, Carlos is down in 15th with just 13 points. And that's even with Alex's 3 consecutive DNFs in Spain, Canada and Austria. So, a bit of an underwhelming start for Carlos with his new team. Some people might disagree, but I'd put Carlos in the disappointing tier because I know he's capable of so much more than he's shown so far. Then we have George Russell, one of the most consistent drivers this year. George is always up there in the top 5 and ready to pounce on any podium opportunity. Except for Monaco, he has qualified in the top 5 at every race so far. He won an incredible race in Canada and has scored 4 other podiums, consistently maximising the car's potential. George is currently 4th in the standings and has been the lead point scorer for Mercedes. I'd put George in the showrunners tier. About Kimi, I'd say he's been pretty impressive so far, especially considering he's just an 18-year-old rookie. He scored his maiden podium in Canada and is usually fighting in that top 6 group. The only big mistake he's made so far was taking out Max in Austria after missing the braking point. He's also suffered a few unfortunate DNFs through no fault of his own, but other than that, he's been really on it. So I'd put Kimi in the solid performers tier. Next up, we have Charles Leclerc. It really makes me sad to talk about the Ferrari drivers. It's arguably the best driver lineup on the grid, and it's a shame that their car just doesn't have the capability to fight regularly for podiums and wins. Charles has been brilliant as always, but he's held back by the car's performance. I don't think there's much more he can do with what he has. He's currently 5th in the standings, and it's so frustrating to see him unable to fight for wins at the front. I'd put Charles in the solid performers tier. And it's the same story for Lewis, honestly. It's taken him a bit of time to adapt to his new car, but when the car is quick, he delivers great results. Though I'd put Lewis in the underwhelming tier as I expected both of them to be closer and for Lewis to beat Charles more often. Then we have the reigning world champion, Max Verstappen. It's been a difficult season for Max. The car is unpredictable and on a knife's edge from weekend to weekend. Even Max is barely able to tame it this year. Max has made quite a few mistakes this season, some out of pure frustration and some from over-aggressiveness. In Saudi Arabia, he got a penalty for cutting the track and gaining an advantage that cost him the win. In Spain, he drove into the side of George Russell after being told to return the position, and in Silverstone he spun at the safety car restart, costing him a podium. I feel he needs to work on this, as he's losing points unnecessarily. But despite all that, Max is single-handedly putting up a fight against 2 very quick McLarens. I think Max is the only driver McLaren truly fears. He snatched 4 pole positions and 2 wins right from under their noses, and it's been amazing to watch him battle them at the front. It would have been even better if the car were more competitive, but it is what it is. So I'd put Max in the showrunners tier. The same can't be said about his teammate Yuki Tsunoda though. Yuki has been absolutely nowhere with the car. He has made it into Q3 only 3 times, and his best race result in Red Bull has been 9th place in Bahrain. He doesn't even manage to drag that car into the points regularly. He's currently 2 points behind Liam Lawson in 17th. Yes, we can blame the car for being difficult to drive, but that alone doesn't explain it. Max is putting it on pole and consistently finishing in the top 5, so I feel poor adaptability is also to blame for Yuki's struggles. At the very least, he needs to be regularly scoring points. He's fighting with the backmarkers and getting lapped in a Red Bull. I mean, that's just unacceptable. As much as I hate to say it, I'd put Yuki in the disappointing tier. And finally, we come to the McLaren boys, starting with Lando Norris, the guy who was the favourite for this year's championship but was, in a way, humbled by his less experienced teammate. Now, I quite like Lando, but this season he hasn't shown that champion mentality against his opponents. He's made silly mistakes, like in Jeddah and Canada, which can have disastrous impacts when you're fighting for a championship. He's been beaten by Piastri 7-5 in head-to-head qualifying. He has 4 wins compared to Oscar's 5 and is currently behind him in the championship. Lando's performances just do not inspire confidence, while Oscar has raised his game to a much higher level compared to last year. Even in Silverstone, where Lando won, he didn't look like the quicker driver and benefited from Oscar's penalty. While Lando is still in the championship hunt, I'd put him in the underwhelming tier based on how he's performed so far. Oscar, however, has been the standout driver this season. His consistency, cool-headedness, impressive pace, and calm demeanour have put him in a comfortable lead in the championship. He started 2025 as a very different driver, improving in every area, whether it's qualifying, race pace, or race starts. He hasn't made many mistakes. In fact, the only notable one was in the opening round, where he lost second place after sliding on a wet track. After that, he has finished every race in the top 4 and has qualified on the front 2 rows every Saturday. The Silverstone radio message after losing the lead was wild though. He's gone wheel to wheel with Max and come out on top most of the time. He has that perfect mix of aggressiveness and patience to play the long game. With how Oscar has performed in the first half of the season, he heads into the second half as the clear favourite, but it won't be easy as Lando is quickly eating into his lead, so I'd put Oscar in the showrunners tier. And that's the mid-season driver rankings, guys. If you enjoyed it, give it a like and don't forget to subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on my rankings in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.